Everybody. Welcome to the first Thursday in November. Peter Greenberg here with our global travel update on Facebook, coming to you live from the legendary Plaza Athénée Hotel in Paris. It's been a crazy couple of weeks. We've been reporting from Dublin, from Vienna, from London at the World Travel Market, and now here in Paris. So much has happened in the last 2 weeks, and of course, we've been keeping on top of it for you. Happy to answer all your questions today. You know the drill to send them in. But most importantly, let's talk about what happened last weekend in American Airlines. Crazy stuff. I should also mention that I'm coming to you from the same hotel that Carrie Bradshaw came from. I was reminded of that by one of my staff people who still wants to watch Sex and the City for reasons I have no idea why. But I'm just mentioning it. Piece of trivia you can bank on for absolutely nothing. Now, let's talk about American Airlines. More than 2,200 flights canceled, many other hundreds of flights delayed. How many thousands of passengers inconvenienced beyond just a few-hour delay? And it's coming in the wake of what happened at Spirit Airlines in September, at Southwest Airlines a couple of weeks ago, and now just 6 or 7 days ago, the American Airlines meltdown that started last Friday. If you listen to the airline, they will tell you it was caused by weather. Well, there was weather involved at the Dallas-Fort Worth hub, which is where American is based. Huge amounts of wind gusts that closed the runways for a while and disrupted their system. That's a fact. That's a catalytic moment. But what we have to talk about today are the underlying reasons. And that's what's going to point the picture to whether or not this could happen again. Here's a clue. It can, and it might. But let's go back to the underlying reasons. Back during the original part of the pandemic, back in March, April, May of 2020, when airlines were getting huge amounts of federal financial assistance, part of that deal included a prohibition that they could not fire or lay off any workers. They had to keep their jobs. And that's what the airlines did, with one exception. The airlines also strongly encouraged their workers to take early outs, buyout packages, early retirement. A lot of people took them up on it, including pilots. So when travel really boomed back in June and July and August of this year, the airlines were already understaffed. They already knew that, but it didn't stop them from doubling and tripling down on their schedule, adding dozens of new routes to new cities that had never been on their route map before, and stretching their employee and labor force very, very thin. So what you had is a real combination here of understaffing and overscheduling. Now add weather to the mix and the system crashes. That's really what happened. But we're just getting started. There are underlying labor issues at the airlines, not just American. There are other issues involving fuel going up. Jet fuel today is 55% more than it was a year ago. It's about $1.94 a gallon for jet fuel, but the airlines are expecting that to go above $2.20 come in January. So that's a problem for them. You also have a problem from a passenger experience perspective of the airports. Only 40% of the TSA agents are still unvaccinated. And the TSA has given their agents a November 22nd deadline to get a jab or lose their job. Let's look at the calendar. That's 2 days before Thanksgiving. Are you nuts? And of course, the American deadline for their employees to get vaccinated is 2 days later, on the day before Thanksgiving, and that's on November 24th. So we're coming to a head here. It's it's a shootout at the OK Corral getting ready to happen. Now, will the federal government fire 40% of the TSA agents when the TSA is already understaffed by 5,000 people? I don't think so. Will American Airlines fire the 4,000 unvaccinated pilots they have on November 25th? I don't think so. We're dealing right now with labor holding all the cards here on what should just be a normal public health issue, which has turned into a big labor management battle. So we'll be watching that. Now, some other numbers to consider. In terms of the number of people flying right now, we're only 6% under the same figures of the people who were flying in 2019. We're almost there. And guess what's going to happen in about 4 days? That number is going to be wiped out. There'll be more people traveling than there were in 2019 at this time of the year, because you know what's happening Monday. That's the day the United States opens up to foreign fully vaccinated passengers from over 33 countries. And they are coming. They are not waiting for the summer. This is VFR traffic, visiting friends and relatives, and they are booking it. Bookings up over 750% on flights to the US. So keep that in mind. If you thought it was crazy before, November is traditionally a very slow travel month, with the exception of that 4-day Thanksgiving period. So now that's off the table. November is going to be crazy. December is going to be crazy. January is going to be crazy. Airfares are going up. I talked about it last week, 3 to 5% per day for domestic U.S. travel, because let's not forget, the foreign travelers are not just flying to the U.S., they're going to fly through it. So a lot of markets getting saturated there. And that's all before Thanksgiving. Get ready for Thanksgiving. Now, what are the airlines doing about it? American says, yes, they admitted they were understaffed. They're going to be bringing back pilots and flight attendants. But let's be honest, you can't just kick the tire and go in the cockpit and fly the plane. You have to have recurrent training. 2 days in the classroom, 3 days in the simulator. That's for the pilots. An additional recurrent training procedure for the flight attendants. So will they be back in time for Thanksgiving? I don't think so. Now, what Southwest is doing is they're trimming the schedule. So is American, by the way. They're taking flights now preemptively off the schedule. And Southwest claims they're bringing back 20% of their reserve flight attendants. Once again, will they be back in time? I don't know. It's a start, but the same ingredients are present for this all to happen again. So we will be watching this very carefully. Probably not a good time of the year to be traveling in the United States. A great time of the year to be traveling where I am right now. I told before, I'm at the Plaza Athens in Paris. The hotel's only running at about 30% occupancy. A great time to be here. It's uncrowded. The airfares to where I am right now are at historic lows. There's a new airline out there called French Bee. You've probably never heard of it, but they fly 3 times a week, to give you an example, from Newark to Paris to Orly, not Charles de Gaulle, which is another benefit if you ask me. You know what the airfares are? They start at $199 each way. That's $398 round trip to Paris. Aer Lingus is bringing a fare back around the 16th of November, $359 round trip from New York and Boston to Dublin. You can't get from New York to Cleveland for $359. So the last time I heard, I think it was possible to freeze Turkey. Forget Thanksgiving. Head over to Europe. It's a buyer's market, and you won't be standing in any lines whatsoever. We'll be keeping a tab on that as well, because remember, if they're all coming over to the United States at a certain point, they're going to come back. And then, of course, the law of supply and demand kicks in, and those fares won't stay this low forever, but they are that way right now. So if you want to be strategic and smart, at least check it out. All right. That's about that one. By the way, speaking of, you're going to love this segue. Speaking about the American meltdown, get it? I'm now going to talk to you about an experience I just had in London. I was there covering the world travel market. The first time they've been back since 2019. We're talking about 25,000 people. Every country, resort, destination, hotel, airline exhibiting in London to basically, start business up again. Some very interesting developments there, which I'll be talking about in subsequent programs. But while I was there, I stayed at the Langham Hotel, which for those of you who understand London, it's right around the corner, literally viewing distance of the BBC, but right around the corner from the Langham, which, by the way, is managed. Here's a big shout out to Doris Greif, who is a general manager extraordinaire. I've known Doris for many, many years, from her days as the first female general manager in the United Arab Emirates in Abu Dhabi. Talk about really doing a great job. Well, now she's running the Langham, and the Langham happens to the Langham happens to own a bar around the corner called the Wigmore. The Wigmore happens to have on its menu something called a toasty. I'm going to show you a picture of that in a second. Oh, too late. There it is. See, Anthony jumped the gun. But now you see the picture, I'll explain it. It is, in my estimation, and I pride myself on being an expert in these matters, the best grilled cheese sandwich in the world. Not in the hemisphere, in the world. Chef Michael Roux has done an amazing job, and nobody will tell me the recipe, but what you're seeing here is not photoshopped. That is one order of a toastie. That's 2 feet long. They use 4 different kinds of cheese. They make it on their own bread. I'm telling you, be careful, because when you finish this, you will be taking a nap, but you'll have a smile on your face. So check it out. I'm telling you, this is like amazing. I will always check out grilled cheese sandwiches anywhere I go in the world. Sometimes they're really pathetic because you can only find them on the children's menu at hotels or restaurants. But this is the one. Order the toastie at the Wigmore in London. You will not be disappointed. In fact, you'll be bragging to your friends. And if you need to know the answer to the question, yes, I ate the whole thing. And then I took a nap. In fact, I was napping for like days after. In any case, a big shout out to the Langham, to Doris, to the chef, and of course, the toastie. Now, let's get back to your questions. Let's scroll down here and say hello to everybody. Hello from Alabama, from Katrina. Hello from Irvine. Okay. Betty says, hello from Punta Gorda in Florida. Need to mention that I got my passport renewal in 3.5 weeks. Wow, things are getting better. I love stories like that. Thank you, Betty. Bonjour from Ventura. Comment ça va? Bien. This concludes my French. Gail says, hi, Peter. We flew Southwest Airlines without any major delays. I almost canceled and rebooked AA. Glad I didn't. Dodged a bullet there. Remember, the ingredients are still present for this to happen again. In the area of Southwest, in a given year prior to now, they might have added 1 new route a year. This year, that was more than 30. And we see what happened. Okay. April's saying, joining today from Las Vegas. Okay. And Patty's saying, bonjour. Hello from Japan. Elizabeth wants to know, thanks for the great reports. Going to Switzerland on June 30th. When should I purchase my ticket? Answer, not now. The problem is you're going after June 15th, and that's when things get a little pricey. So from my experience, I would do this. I'm going to give you 2 choices. Number 1, book it after January 15th. But here's one that nobody has ever told you, but I'm going to tell you. Go to your local newsstand that may carry international newspapers, or you can even go to a news service that I like called pressreader.com and get the Saturday edition of the British newspapers. Could be the Observer, the Daily Mail, the Guardian, the Independent, the Times, and look at the travel section. You will see ads there for flights all around the world that you'll never see advertised in the U.S. media. They just don't. And in many cases, they're so dirt cheap. It'll require you to make a stop in London, or it may require you to make a stop in France. But what do you care? The price is going to be great, because after June 15th, prices go up. It happens every year. So check that out, okay? All right. Lindy says, I'm frozen. I hope I'm not frozen now. Colleen wants to know, I'm in San Francisco, my favorite city. Kamal is my second favorite. Paris is right up there on the top of the list. Lucky you. Yep, lucky me. However, I'm only here for 48 hours. I leave to come back to the States tomorrow for 1.5 days, and then I take off again to go where? I have to go back to Europe. So next week's Facebook Live will be coming to you from somewhere in Europe. We'll give you a couple of clues and hints during the week. Aloha from Hawaii, says Waters. Wish we could be in Paris. You are staying in a very nice hotel. I am. This is one of the great hotels, the Plaza Athens. And in the days when I used to eat meat, and that was 13 years ago, you go to their corner restaurant here, and for the best steak tartare in the world, made tableside. Unbelievable. Now, I haven't had meat in 13 years, so I can't tell you I had it yesterday. But I'm telling you, it's on the menu. It's the one thing they've kept on the menu. Check it out. Okay, Patty Ford says, Peter's dysfunctional holiday. Yes, otherwise known as Thanksgiving. Catherine says, howdy from Dallas. Took me a while to get back from Minneapolis on American. Yeah, we know. Okay. Greetings from the Bay Area from Joan. Colleen says, I love French Bee. I've only had great experiences with that airline so far, at least. Let me tell you something. Here's their route network. It's an amazingly interesting route network, really designed for the French leisure market. But if you're smart, you get to play, right? They fly Newark to Orly. They fly San Francisco to Tahiti. And there's a rumor that later this year, they're going to announce they're also going to fly from Los Angeles to Tahiti. And then from Paris, that's where it gets interesting. Their sister airline, Caribbear, flies to the French Caribbean, right? Martinique and Guadeloupe. But the most interesting flight they have is the one from Paris nonstop, 11 hours to Reunion Island. What an amazing location that is. Check it out on the map. Beautiful, beautiful place. And if you're going to be going to Reunion, you might as well hop over to Mauritius while you're at it. Anyway, Frenchbee does a great job. Their airfares to Tahiti are remarkably inexpensive. Their airfare, by the way, from New York to Orly is $199 each way. Now, are you going to get lie flat seats? No. Are you going to get huge business class seats? No. Are you going to get a great fare? You bet. And they fly brand new A350-900s, great airplane, seats 411 people. So it's, we're not talking about, rich seats. We're talking about smart prices. So there you have it. Mei Ling Moore, good morning from Los Angeles. Hey, Mei Ling. Let me go back here. Oh boy, we had to scroll down. Here we go. Patrick Cooney saying bonjour. Debbie saying still in Jersey. Okay. Okay. Raymond Bixton speaking French to me. What a surprise. Yes. Bonjour, Pierre. I'll leave the middle word out. Okay. Mei Ling Moore says it's her favorite sandwich too, grilled cheese. And the only thing that they don't serve on that toasty in London, but you can order it if you want, are the caramelized onions in there too. Then it's really over the top. Okay. Joy Daniels, when is the best time to purchase airfare for Athens, Greece going in September of 2022? As my earlier answer would indicate, not now. The best time to do it, especially if you're going mid-September, not early September, would probably be around April. Okay? Diane says, I can't wait to go to Japan. Any ideas when they'll open? It may not be this year. I've been saying it for a long time. Even Australia, which says they're now going to start opening to returning Australians without quarantine, has not given the green light for us. And in Australia's case, it may not be until March. I'm thinking January for Japan. Okay. David Alpern, my old buddy from Newsweek, he said, last week you said not to accept Americans' gift of miles in response to my form submit complaint about a 9-hour mechanical delay. How to respond? There is no clear and obvious way to contact them other than via their website from Submit. Yes, there is. David, I hate to tell you, it's a new invention called the telephone. And you pick it up and you talk to a human being and you ask to speak to a supervisor and explain your difficulty in communicating with them online, which is why you're calling, and to also let them know that the little garbage offer of mileage they gave you is not enough. And how can we make it better? And if they don't, then you can email me, peter@petergreenberg.com. And because you hold Newsweek alumni status, I will help you. Actually, I'll help anybody, peter@petergreenberg.com. But in this case, nothing beats a phone call with a supervisor. Okay? Forget submitting anything online. Anytime somebody tells you to submit a form online, you are already at a disadvantage. You need to have a conversation. Okay. And David, tell me what happens, okay? April says, pre-Christmas to London or January sounds like a good time to get to Europe. Indeed. Look, does anybody come to Paris for a suntan? Are you really going to be hanging at a pool? The same applies to London. You're going for the culture, the music, the food, the toasty, and what better time to go than now? Cynthia wants to know any news about Chile reopening without quarantine requirements. I want to drive over from Argentina in December. Maybe too soon. Although Chile has another issue that Argentina dealt with. They don't want to lose their summer traffic. Remember, Southern Hemisphere, it's their high season. I honestly believe that they will do something before December 15th. Okay? And I'll stay on top of that for you. Okay. Robin says, aloha for Alani on the great island of Oahu. Okay. Living the dream for 2 more weeks. Wow. Good for you. How do you like the new 3% hotel tax in Hawaii? That's what a lot of states are doing now, Mike. There's Mike Lucan saying that. They're taxing people without representation, right? That's how they get you. Occupancy tax, sales tax. And that's how they're going to try to make back revenue that they lost completely during the pandemic. From Lake Alapa or Alapaha in Georgia. My old pal, Mary Jane Rogers. I went to elementary school with her. Terry Hart, greetings from Madison. I used a Biox Now antigen self-test 3 days before I returned from Italy last month. And yes, I had my hotel print the negative results. 24/7 service with results in 15 minutes from the comfort of my hotel. Can't beat it. But the key to what Terry just said is print. Print. All right, let me keep going down here. I got to scroll a few more. Diane says I'm flying from Orlando to Dallas this week before Christmas. Is it safe to fly AA? Of course it's safe to fly AA. Will it be on time? That's another issue. But you're going when? You're going the week before Christmas. The week before Christmas is better than the week before Thanksgiving because, as you know, you can only spread out the volume of people traveling over Christmas. You can't really do that over Thanksgiving. Thanksgiving is pretty compressed. So I think you'll be okay. Okay. Mia says, it looks like you visited many countries. Wonder how many you haven't visited yet and that would like to be in the near future. Well, here's the answer. 196 countries in the world. I've been to 152 of them. I have not been to 44 of them, but I have a different bucket list than you do. It's called no bucket list. So my bucket list is anywhere I've never been and everywhere I've always been because I can't get enough, right? So I've been to Paris since I was 12 years old. I still can't get enough, but that doesn't stop me from wanting to go to some of the smaller island nations in the South Pacific that I haven't been to, right? The Solomon Islands, for example, or, that's where Guadalcanal might be and a few other places. So yeah, or Noumea, New Caledonia. I have a list, but it's not exclusive to anything. It's like all 196 countries. Geraldine says, hello from Chicago. Is Travel Zoo and Groupon Travel going anywhere, either domestic or any European countries? The answer is yes. I believe Travel Zoo has some great deals in Ireland right now. I was just over there and talked to some of the Travel Zoo people when I was there about 2 weeks ago. Sounds like it's time to book a 2-hour trip to London for lunch. Yeah, if you take the Eurostar, that's how I got here. I flew to Vienna. Then, first of all, I flew to Dublin. Then I flew to Vienna. Then I flew to London, but I did not fly to Paris for 2 reasons. That ridiculous user's tax they will charge anybody from flying from any United Kingdom airport anywhere. And the money I saved from that tax, hey, take the train. 2.5 hours later, traveling at 291 kilometers per hour, I might add, you're at Gare du Nord and you're in Paris. So yeah, you can come to Paris for lunch. And you should. Okay. Doug is saying hello from Lake Stevens, Washington. Please update us on when Chicago O'Hare is having their automated terminal train online to replace their slow, heavily crowded rental car bus shuttle. Don't hold your breath. It's going to have to be the middle of next year at the earliest. Richard says, howdy from Portugal. Lots of beautiful, pristine beaches and top-class accommodations were open. Yes, you are. That is one of my favorite places. Obrigado. And and affordable. Portugal may be one of the hottest destinations on the planet in 2019. It's about to be again next year, but it is relatively affordable. Okay. Jill says, sorry to do this to you, but I've already forgotten your tip about getting an international newspaper as a way to find great European affairs. You just forgot it. I only gave it to you 11 minutes ago. All right. For Jill, I will speak more slowly with all due humor intended. Go to your local newsstand, wherever you happen to be. I don't know where you live, Jill, where they carry international papers and get the Saturday edition of any of the London papers, any of the British papers, because they're national papers. Or go to pressreader.com. It's a service you can sign up for very reasonably. They carry like 700 publications that you can download, access, and even print and get the same thing. And they also carry the ads. So you can print out the ads. You'll find great travel deals out of London that you would not find in the U.S. Okay? Gail says, if you'll only be back in the U.S. for a day and a half, why don't you just stay in Europe? Well, welcome to my life, Gail. I might have something to do in New York and in Washington, D.C. That's why. You make a commitment, you got to keep it, right? And so I'm flying back and forth over a period of like 36 hours, not because I live to do it, but because I want to keep to my schedule. But you ask a logical question, by the way. And I wish I had a logical answer. My life is not logical when it comes to schedule. Karen says, hello from Dubai. My first visit here. Karen, I hope you're having a great time. Gail says, we have the same bucket list. None. Good for you. Beth says, hello from Naples. Where do you stay in Paris? Well, right now I'm staying at the Plaza Athénée. And I try to stay here as often as I can. Great location, great service, great history, by the way. And not to mention, Carrie Bradshaw. I mean, what are you going to do? Okay. And Robin says, okay, you've been to 140 countries, but the question is, do you have time to smell the roses? Well, with the exception of a few trips like this one, the answer is yes, of course. But I'd much rather take one day in Paris than 6 years thinking about it, if you get my drift. Of the 152 countries I've been to, I've lived in a couple, and I've also returned to most of them. So this is not like ticking off a box and saying, oh, I touched down in Madagascar and I left. I've been there. That's stupid. I don't do that. I actually immerse myself every chance I get. All right, let's scroll back up here. And maybe, here we go. I think it's time to go to the photo of the week. What do you think? Let's do it. You got it coming up, Anthony? It's coming. And there it is. How cool is that? Anybody know where it was taken? Anybody want to know? Well, first of all, hats off to Elizabeth Casso or Queso. Thank you for sending this. This was in the Tetons. Yep. Sun is setting, not rising. And she says we were driving from Yellowstone to Jackson Hole. It was the first time here, and I loved every minute, as her photo proves. Wonderful photo. I love that. And if you get a chance, print it up. Now, if you want to have a photograph submitted, it's easy to do for Photo of the Week. Just send it to us, peter@petergreenberg.com. And if we like it, it's on. So again, thank you, Elizabeth. Let's go to some of your earlier questions that you sent in. Here's one from Linda. If cruise lines have unsold staterooms, why would they not sell them to single travelers without the single supplement charge? Well, last-minute bookings on cruise lines are now possible within 2 weeks of sailing. A number of cruise lines, like Norwegian and Cunard, actually have single cabins. They were specifically designed for solo travelers. Now, they don't have a lot of them on every ship, but they have them, and they're not priced at double the cost of a double occupancy stateroom. So you should check those out. Okay. Tom says, why is American Airlines lying to customers about their flight cancellations? It feels like they're only blaming it on weather delays. Well, look, it's like saying you skidded off the road because there was ice, but you forgot to mention you were driving 150 miles an hour when it happened. I hear you. Look, in the world of reality, bad things don't happen for any one reason. They happen because of a combination of reasons that in concert create a situation where you can't recover. American Airlines had the meltdown. Yes. Was there weather? Yes. Was the weather the only culprit here? Absolutely not. They didn't have enough people. They were trying to fly too many routes. And they had a lot of people who were unhappy. Put them all together, meltdown. Okay? So they're choosing to say it was weather, and they're technically correct. But they forgot the fact about, driving 65 miles an hour in a 20 mile an hour zone. Okay. Sarah says, I was sitting on a Frontier plane with a guy next to me who was wearing his face mask improperly below his chin. He was sniffling the entire flight. The flight attendant saw how he was wearing his mask, but didn't do anything. The flight was sold out. Can I get any compensation if I end up being sick now? Are you serious? Are you serious? No. Of course not. I'm not a lawyer, but I couldn't prosecute that case for you. Too many other underlying factors that you can't control, and you can't prove anything that happened on that flight affected you later. Sorry. What you could have done is, did you voice anything to the flight attendants about his mask, or you just noticed they didn't do anything? Did you get anybody's name, first and last, about why they weren't enforcing the mask rule? You haven't built up enough evidence here. Travelers, you need to be better reporters, right? If you want to build a case, have a case. And the only way you do that is by getting the details, okay? Geraldine says, basic economy versus economy fare. Is it worth it to spend more? Basic economy is an insult fare. It's basically setting you up to fail. Because when the airlines got rid of the draconian ticket change fees, which, by the way, 3 cheers to them for doing it. Not that they wanted to do it, by the way. They had to do it. Nobody was flying. So when they got rid of the draconian ticket change fees, they made an exception at the time for basic economy fares. So those fares still remain use it or lose it. So there are a lot of reasons. I mean, I asked this question recently. I'll do it again. What does basic economy fare and people getting sick have in common? It's the use it or lose it problem. So 3 days before getting on a flight, and by the way, this is pre-pandemic stuff. It may not have anything to do with COVID at all. It could just be the regular flu. If you're too sick to fly, but you don't want to lose your money, you fly anyway and infect everybody else. This is wrong. In general, I know there are exceptions, but in general, a regular economy fare, the next step one up, not the full economy, but the regular one up from basic, is only going to cost you about $30 more per leg. That's your insurance policy, that if you need to cancel, you don't lose your money, right? The only people who I know who fly basic economy are members of the Witness Relocation Program. There you go. All right, let's keep going. I'm going to turn the page here. I got some more questions. Here we go. Mary wants to know, are TSA striking everywhere? So they want to strike at DIA this week. I'm not aware of that. The last time, I'm really not aware of that. There may be a slowdown or two. They may be understaffed. That's one form of striking, when nobody shows up because there's nobody. But remember, we have a deadline coming up of November 22nd for them to get their vaccinations or lose their job. I really don't think it's going to come to that. No one can afford that on either end of that spectrum. So stay tuned. But I do not know about any strikes right now. We'll check into that. Here's one from Lisa. Any airlines or any updates on the airline credit extensions or thoughts to get around and not lose? Yeah, here's the deal. The airlines did do an extension on some of the vouchers. They did some extensions on your frequent flyer status levels. But right now, everybody's looking at what the U.S. Department of Transportation is going to do. They already announced an enforcement action against one airline, that was Air Canada, for not giving refunds when they were obligated under DOT rules to do so, and they flagrantly ignored that. Well, they got assessed a proposed fine of $25.5 million. That was a sort of wake-up call to the other 18 airlines the U.S. DOT is currently investigating. So if you've got one of those vouchers and it looks like it's going to expire, or maybe it already has expired, don't throw it out. You may still have legal standing if the DOT takes enforcement action against the airline that issued that voucher to you. Now, if you're holding a voucher from a tour operator or a hotel, that's not covered under the U.S. DOT. I'm just talking about airline vouchers, okay? Emma says, what are the top travel destinations for 2022? I'm going to sound silly here. How about everywhere? Everywhere you can breathe, everywhere where there's baked in social distancing, everywhere that's affordable. And I can think of no exceptions to that. When we talk about pent-up demand, it may not be pent-up demand just to go to St. Bart's. It's pent-up demand to go anywhere. We've been sitting around too long. We just want to go somewhere. And in many cases, so many of us have such pent-up demand that price is not an issue. It's crazy. There are hotels in Santa Barbara right now getting $1,200 a night for a single room, and nobody's blinking. So here's my suggestion, with all due respect to the hoteliers in Santa Barbara. What could you do with $1,200 somewhere else in the world, which might not have been affordable before, but is now? Think about it. Okay. Here's one from Richard. Is Thailand only open to vaccinated tourists? Right now, the answer is yes. So, Sawadee ka, go get vaccinated. All right, from Francine. Hi, Peter, going to Portugal at the end of the month. Is there a digital travel pass there yet? And I'll give you a qualified yes. It is. It's part of the European Union. The European Union does have a digital travel pass, but you don't need it. Now, you do need to have a PCR test before you go to Portugal, even if you're vaccinated, even if you're just transiting the airport. When I went to Ireland, I transited the Lisbon airport and I had to show a negative PCR test within 48 hours of getting on my plane, which in that case was from San Francisco. So yes, that's the rule. Okay, let's scroll down here. All right, let me come back up here and get, okay. Okay. Terry Hart says your two hotel recommendations in Taormina, the San Domenico Palace and the Gran Tomeo, or the San Tomeo actually, are both closed in February when I'm going to Sicily. Any other hotel recommendations? Let me check on that for you. I mean, those are the ones I love. I'm sorry they're closed in February, and we'll get back to you, right? We'll come up with one or two that you might like. Here's one from Steven. I leave for Berlin for 2 weeks in September. Cannot wait to rip off the page of the calendar other than, would I recommend taxi service in the city versus Lyft? Danke. Well, taxis in Berlin are really expensive. Taxis in Amsterdam are really expensive. Taxis in Vienna are really expensive. But here's the interesting thing. Check it out. If you take a taxi in Vienna, what might cost you 30 euros, put that on hold for a second. Now call Uber. Ask for an Uber. Guess who shows up? The taxi. And the ride is 17 euros. I can't understand this, but now that I know, I'm sharing it with you. Go with Uber if you can. Taking the traditional taxi is still going to cost you more money. Okay? Now you know. All right. Again, a couple of things. Check out our radio show this Saturday from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. Eastern. Eye on Travel on CBS. If you can't find it in your market, no problem. Just go to petergreenberg.com and we stream it live from 10:05 a.m. actually till 1 because all the local stations do news and weather and traffic first. Of course, our website with the imaginative name petergreenberg.com is where you'll find the radio streaming live on Saturday. And of course, you can sign up for the newsletter. It's free. It is not transactional. We sell nothing. We update it with information that we hope you can use as often as we can during the week. And of course, every week a new edition comes out anyway. We can still watch Hidden Turkey. It's on PBS and also on Amazon Prime and Apple TV Plus. I am getting on a plane tomorrow, flying back to New York, then to DC, and then turning right around on Monday and flying right back to Europe. We'll give you the clues on where I'm going to be next time we talk, which will be online. So thanks everybody for watching. Happy first Thursday in November. Let's hope things get better at the airports and the airlines, although I don't think they will until January because there's too many things converging, including what's happening this coming Monday when thousands of fully vaccinated foreign travelers descend upon our country after waiting for more than 19 months. So fasten your seatbelt. Could be a rocky ride, but we're going to get through this. Everybody be safe. I'll see you next week.